Good to be back with you. How is everybody? Looking forward to the long weekend. I am. Excuse the banging. Got builders outside. But hopefully they won't be too noisy. We've got them under control. I am so excited about today. I have been looking forward to this. This has been like red starred in my diary because we're going to be talking about mushrooms, kind of magical mushrooms, nootropics. Do you take any? Shiitake, cordyceps, what are we? Chaga, shiitake, reishi, turkey tail, all of that. Oh my goodness. Lion's mane, fascinating. I have got many family members onto lion's mane for various reasons. I'm going to be joined by Tom Baxter, who's the founder of the Bristol Fungarium. And I have to say, I found these guys because I became so fascinated with the whole world of mushrooms. And I'm researching them actually for a writing project, which I should tell you about another time. And they're kind of localish to me, you know, West Country, and I love their story. I love the fact that they are the first organically certified medical mushroom brand in the UK. As you know, I love supporting British founder-led brands, small brands doing things really well. And I'm fascinated by this whole area. Those of you who tune into my podcast, the Earle Wellbeing Show, will have heard me over the years talk about psilocybin, talk about obviously things like legalizing cannabis that we did recently with Mary Biles, and the whole area of nootropics and brain development, brain health, brain aging, but also mental health issues and pain, and Lily, as you know, with her journey with pain, all of that. So interesting. We have got a Liz Loves with Bristol Fungarium. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, team, because you will be fascinated. 15% off everything at bristolfungarium.com. Now, I'm just going to get Lainey to join us. So Lainey is going to moderate. So if you have any questions about Earle Wellbeing, about the magazine, then Lainey is your girl. So she'll be on there. And let us see whether we can get now Tom. And I have to say, I'm just going to show you because you can't see, it's out of vision here. I kept it in its box because it's so fabulous. Look at all this lovely stuff we're going to be talking about. And do you know what there is as well? There's even lion's mane chocolate. Yes. I mean, how good is that for the weekend? Right, let's see. Bristol Fungarium. I am, honestly, look at this. Look at all the way it comes all sort of wrapped up. So beautiful. So these are actually my bottles. And in fact, I got sent 2 lots. I have ordered some myself, and then I got sent some for today. And my team had to hide it because they knew that I'd be raiding it immediately. Hello, Tom.
Hey, Liz.
You know, I am so excited for this conversation. I am
Wonderful.
I am your silent stalker on Instagram.
Well, that's a sure sign you don't know me well.
I first came across you because I was researching lion's mane actually in the first instance, and I'd like to get into your backstory, but I'll just tell you about how I discovered you. And in fact, you know, I was looking around for the lion's mane here, and it's the one that I don't have here. You know why I don't have it? It's because Kit has taken it back to university with him. Because I first gave it to my boys. I was looking at brain health. So first of all, I gave it to my elderly parents who are in their 80s because I was doing some research into Alzheimer's and cognitive function. Then I came across some interesting research looking at ADD and ADHD. I sent some to Kit at uni and I said, maybe this is going to help with your focus. He loves it, swears by it, travels with it, steals mine. And then I discovered you on Instagram and your amazing story and the incredible pictures that you've got of lion's mane. If anybody hasn't seen it, do go and have a look. Can you tell us about your journey here? Because it's so fascinating.
I mean, so I've foraged for mushrooms, you know, all over the world, from Russia to, you know, the Pyrenees. I used to live in the south of France. I used to take gaggle of my children up the mountains. They were never particularly happy to spend hours searching, always unsuccessfully, I should add. It became a running joke that whenever I'd say, "Oh, the conditions are perfect for mushrooms, guys. We're gonna head off into the mountains, and we'd come back with one mushroom and broken children. And so we've been doing that. But I basically around about when we came back to England, I don't know, around about 8 years ago, I set up a Montessori school, and I had a couple of forest schools that I set up as well. And then I mean, it's great fun. I love children. And then I split up with my mother of my 4 children after 20 odd years, and decided to start basically trying to beat in time with the earth. So I made the fateful decision to try and be an organic veg farmer about 6 years ago now. That is unbelievably hard work for very little money.
Former organic livestock farmer.
Yeah.
I mean, serious respect to British farmers who can do it. Regenerative farming, it's so important.
Yeah, I mean,
we need to support them.
Yeah, it is genuinely extraordinarily difficult to have a functional existence when you're working the land in any shape or form, and also trying to do it, you know, in a sort of way that's conducive to wildlife around you. So I did that, and then after a couple of years, I'd always actually foraged and actually sold foraged mushrooms. So this time of year, it'd be mainly St. George's at the moment. But although this year, I have to say, a lot of people have been finding morels. This year seems to be the best year for probably 2 decades in the UK for people finding morels. So get out there, look in Aldi and Lidl car parks. That tends to be where on all the bought-in European wood chip, that's where most people seem to find them. So if you do,
that's hysterical.
Yeah. Well, again, my kids used to hate it. I used to pull over to Aldi's and Lidl's in April and May, and they'd be so embarrassed with me just walking my head down across these car parks. Anyway, so I basically put the last chunk of money I had into a few shipping containers, and I started growing oyster mushrooms on straw, just cold fermenting the straw. And then after about a year of doing that, I had a guy called Henry, who is a very remarkable man, and he had been growing coral for a long period of time, quite rare coral. And he'd also worked with some of the largest private aquariums in the UK that he'd built and designed. And he ethically had to get out of the aquarium world, and he came to me. He'd grown a lot of mushrooms before, and I offered him £40 a day because I couldn't afford anything else. After about 5 hours of negotiating, we agreed on £60 a day. So it's kind of so many of the people that work for me now have taken initially massive financial hits to work. Joey, who grows all our cordyceps that I have here.
Show us. That's so cordyceps.
These are cordyceps, which are kind of quite beautiful looking things. And yeah, Joey for a year took a day off every week, so lost £150 a week every day before he came on board. Anyway, so Henry sort of really enabled us to grow a lot more complicated mushrooms.
And you have quite a range. I mean, I've got them here. I think there must be at least 7 because I haven't got the lion's mane. These are all the boxes.
I think one of the benefits coming from a sort of farming background is that scale, the ability or the belief that you can grow to scale. So we grow about 1/2 ton of fresh mushrooms a week. And we mix about 3 tons of substrate a week by hand and cook it. So it's, you know, farming is, everyone has this sort of rather romantic idea of a mushroom farm. It's proper graft.
I'm going to come and see you. I'm just warning you. I'm coming.
I'm warning you. I'll put you to work. So that's the,
okay. Do we have to start at £40 a day? Maybe we can. Inflationary rise. Maybe.
I'm sure when you started your brand that you're so well known for, I'm sure you weren't earning £40 a day. So
spending a lot more than that, I tell you.
Yeah.
For those wanting to start, can I just jump in, because I know a lot of people will be wanting to check out the practicalities here. I mentioned lion's mane, and that's receiving a lot of press and a lot of proper research. You know, I mean, I devour PubMed and look at the clinical studies, and it, you know, it is biologically active. There are some very interesting clinical trials on that. Is that a good starting point for people? If someone's never used these before and they think, oh, mushrooms, are they hallucinogenic? Are they addictive? Are they dangerous? You know, can you give us a kind of a you know, a bluffer's guide 101
Yeah.
for starting your mushroom journey?
Okay, so yeah, cut a long story short, we found a lion's mane growing on a tree. We were the first people to find a lion's mane in the southwest of England for 6 years. This is about 5 years ago. The estate it was on, they actually cut the tree down. It's one of the 5 red list mushrooms in the UK, so you can't actually clone it. You can't harvest it in the wild.
Wow.
But it was spattered all across the ground. So we managed to get a huge amount of
That's
lion's
amazing.
mane and
That's the
clone.
universe telling you something.
Well, it gets even better than that. So I then tried to find out who owned the land. So I got the number off. Turns out to be a delightful man called Abe, and had a bit of a pop at him, and then said, you know, I don't suppose you've got any land to sell, have you? He's going, hey, you can't make any money off land. What do you want land for? And I was like, well, I want to build a barn. He goes, well, I've got millions of barns, and so so to cut a long story short, he has built us a beautiful barn up here, and then sort of the third time, which is about 500 meters from where the lion's mane grows in the wild. And then he said, I don't suppose you'd be interested in the farmhouse. No one's lived in it for a year. You know, we can't rent it out commercially because of the state it's in. And so we now live in a farmhouse 500 meters from where the lion's mane was that we found. And yeah, so the lion's mane very much has been our sort of journey into it. And interesting, you were talking about research. We've actually got a PhD student that works with the neuroscience department at UWE, a university just down the road. And so actually Henry and Joe were in the lab at UWE yesterday, no, day before yesterday, doing extraction. Basically, we're trying to optimize the extraction process that we have. And interestingly, our Somerset lion's mane, when we tested it against 3 other commercial strains, had about 20% higher levels of something called beta-glucanes. And beta-glucanes, from a mushroom perspective and from a human health perspective, are one of the more important compounds that exist within mushrooms. The reason they're relevant from a human health perspective, if we want to get a little sciencey here, is their molecular structure. They have something called a 1,3,1,6 linkage, which means off the 3rd and 6th carbon atom they spike. The reason that's relevant from a human health perspective is our human immune receptor cells recognize that molecular structure. And so that molecular structure doesn't exist in any other beta-glucane. So you do get beta-glucanes in grains, but they're 1,4. And also the grain or oat beta-glucanes are a single line. With the fungi ones, they're like a sort of a triple helix in essence, so they're much more complicated molecularly.
What does it do for us then? What you know, I can see the chemistry being very unique to these mushrooms.
So,
what are they doing?
So with all mushrooms, they have probably around about 200 compounds of interest in them. But in regards to beta-glucanes, the reason, for example, there are so many adjunct treatments for cancer that come from fungi beta-glucanes. So, for example, I mean, the most commonly quoted one is PSK and PSP, which is polysaccharide crestin and polysaccharide peptin, which are the 2nd and 3rd most prescribed adjunct treatment for cancer in Japan.
Wow.
And they're isolates of specific beta-glucanes from turkey tail. But there's there's other ones. There's letinins from shiitake, which is this one here.
That's turkey, is it?
This is shiitake, yeah.
I've got your turkey tail here. This is something else that I've been reading a lot about. Is that particularly good for immunity then, for the immune system?
I mean, the reason that one's particularly good for immunity is that it has the highest level of fungi beta-glucans. So you'll see in our turkey tail, it's actually lumpy. I don't know if you can see that, but it's actually got,
I've noticed that. It's good job you told me that. I would have been sending it back, complaining.
Yeah, I mean, we have so many people that are like, oh my God, there's something wrong with it. Yeah, it's supposed to be lumpy, and it took us about 2 years to actually fully understand that what we were doing in our process was the correct thing, because we'd looked at lots of other companies that we respected initially, and they had these beautifully clear tinctures, and we thought, what are we doing wrong? You know, so we start initially we thought they might be proteins, so we tested with this, protein test kit, which basically just dyes proteins blue. Then we started, then we thought maybe it was solid matter, so we started triple filtering down to 0.5 microns, which is enough to take out bacteria. They were still in there. And then we did a test where we put in 97% ethanol to force out all the water from the solution so that we would get the water-soluble things would precipitate out. Then we realized they were water-soluble. This took about a year. And then finally, when we went and got all these tests done with the neuroscience department with Tim, who's the assistant professor there, and it turned out that ours had way, way, way higher, like some of them over 1,000% higher levels of beta-glucans than some of these companies that we'd been naively believing we should be creating a product that looks the same. So actually,
what's the safety? Because you're talking about high levels of these actives. How safe?
So actually, fortunately, with turkey tail, for example, there aren't really any contraindications with turkey tail. So what you're doing is you're giving your body access to a huge quantity of these fungi beta-glucans, and that will allow your body to make use of them if it needs them. This is the great thing about mushrooms in general. This is a slight oversimplification, but they are not designed to boost your immune system, as a lot of people say. They are looking to create homeostasis in the body. So if your immune system is low, they will upregulate it, and if it's overproductive, they will downregulate it. And so, in essence, by giving your body access to a lot of these compounds that don't exist in any other vegetable, any other food stuff, you are fundamentally allowing access from a human health perspective to compounds that your body genuinely can make use of. And so the more you put in a product, the potential benefit is higher. And so this is because we have a lot of people who take our products. Yeah.
I'm going to add some to my coffee. Which one should I start with? Because I know there are a lot of people who are going to be rushing to your website and checking it out, and it is fascinating. Honestly, I'm prepared to get right down the rabbit hole with it because it's brilliant.
So, but there's so much we could go into.
Come back again, okay? Come back again. But in the meantime, what's the starter for 10?
The starter for 10, I personally would say reishi, probably. The reason being, reishi is probably the most, it's called Ganodermic, it's called, what is it?
Lucidum.
Yeah, okay, so another interesting story here. So one of the mushrooms we grow is so most of the mushrooms we grow are UK native strains that we have found and cloned, like our maitake, our reishi, our turkey tail. The chaga we forage in Scotland ourselves. The cordyceps actually is a cross between a Cornish cordyceps and a French one. So we're doing our best for bilateral, the entente cordiale again. But I would start with reishi. Reishi is phenomenal in terms of, firstly, what it does is it allows your capillaries to open up and hold more oxygen, and that in turn allows your heart to beat slower. So in traditional Chinese medicine, it's given as a sort of heart tonic. And we find a lot of people who are experiencing stress, anxiety, or poor sleep benefit enormously from reishi. The other thing being that we have within our central nervous system, we have something called microglial cells, and they are, in essence, a bit like the sort of brain cells of our central nervous system. And I think given what's happening, existentially at the moment, and in terms of society, and in terms of, economically, a lot of us are feeling quite broken,
overwhelmed,
from a central nervous system perspective. People in olden times would say, you need to just go and relax, and their nerves are absolutely wired. And interestingly, there are two compounds that we think they're probably triterpenes that seem to be able to downregulate inflammation within the microglial cells. And this might be why we've had some bizarre feedback from people that have certain chronic pain conditions, in particular fibromyalgia, where people, it's not a silver bullet, but we have had, I'm quite a cynical person, and it's definitely true for these people. There are definite physiological reasons why some of the compounds in reishi, for example, may have these benefits that people are reporting. But we've had, yeah, I mean, I'm always
So, I mean,
loath to just
what I
use.
would say to people is if you're brand new to this, you know, I've been researching this only for a few months, well, for the last year or so maybe. There's so much to learn. If you're fascinated by this, I hope this is a really interesting kind of starter point to go and have a look around, read some of the data, read some of the science, go to your website. Your website's brilliant. And sign up for your newsletter because that's
Yeah,
fascinating.
that's very kind.
You know, and just kind of get into it. What I love is that you're very much about education. These are little leaflets that talk about all the different ones. Can I mention lion's mane at the beginning and that?
Okay, we'll go back to lion's mane because lion's
Yeah.
mane is the one that has the largest amount of marketing behind it.
Okay, that's
Which,
why I've seen
and
it.
I,
Yeah.
and I think the other thing is in the modern world, what's happened is that we experience so many so much stress, and we quite often feel that if we could just sort our heads out, everything else would be fine. Whereas quite often what manifests in the brain actually is caused by issues within the body. And so certainly we've had a huge number of people claim that by taking lion's mane they're feeling considerably more focused.
Yeah.
And all of these like associated, we've got lots of people who are on SSRIs who again claim that, well, some people, again, I'm loath to use individual examples,
Yeah.
but there's definitely a large grouping above the placebo level, I'm comfortable to say, of people who are reporting, you know, that they are feeling much more focused, they're feeling more relaxed. Interestingly, with lion's mane in traditional Chinese medicine, it's actually given for upper digestive tract issues, so the upper gut issues, the esophagus. And it's interesting now that we know the relationship between the sort of gut biome and the brain. So what it definitely does do is around within your central nervous system, within your nerves, they're all encapsulated encapsulated by something called a myelin sheath. And lion's mane does create the precursor to an enzyme for something called nerve growth factor. It's actually a lot more complicated than this, but this is the layman's guide. And so in essence, what you're doing is you're creating the optimal environment around the outside of your nerves within your body for them to repair. And people have posited that this is also happening from a neuron perspective. What I think is actually happening, because there have been a couple of studies done in Japan, again, looking at people with early onset dementia, and they do a 12-week course of lion's mane, and they take an international cognition test at the start and at the end. And the improvement is not massive, but it is statistically significant. They improve their test results from about 16% over 12 weeks.
Your brain and dementia, I mean, that is significant. I read interesting studies linking it to being beneficial for Alzheimer's and warding off this early onset cognitive decline. And both my parents are in their 80s, and they were the first people in my family to get lion's mane, because it was just like, I ordered yours straight away. It was like, right, I looked online, I did my research, yours by far and away came out as top in my mind.
I mean,
this was before we
interestingly, I think we're the only people actually paying to do research on this. So this is what we're paying for the PhD student over, I think it's going to cost us like £58,000 over 3 years. And we've received no funding. This is out of our own pocket. Strictly speaking, I don't actually have the money to pay for it.
Don't tell them.
You know, that's
You'll make it, honestly, Tom. This is going to be huge.
That's what I do all the time. It's the right thing to do, so we'll do it. But actually, specifically, what we're doing is we're looking at our tincture on stem cells for potential applications for Alzheimer's, and so that the whole project is based around Alzheimer's. The idea being that if we can prove efficacy on in vitro studies, so we can show that the stem cell grows in a more productive way when it's doused in a tiny amount of our tincture, then we can then go on to a small-scale preclinical trial and do it. Because we're using the entire mushroom and we're not isolating a particular compound, it's considerably easier to get sign-off to do a human clinical trial. And so, and all, you know, so that's literally the reason why we're
Isn't that
doing
amazing?
this is for
You know,
outcomes.
you have to do that, fund that out of your own pocket for something that could be so life-changing and so groundbreaking, and the pharmaceutical industry not interested. Why? Because you can't patent it. It's never going
Oh,
to make them any money. And so you guys are the ones, and once you've done that, and if you've shown that, you're not going to own that. That's going to be a gift to the
no,
world.
100%. 100%. Then it's a question of people finding good quality products.
Yeah,
To personally, you know,
sure.
that's the key
That's
thing. I
your
mean,
payback.
so
Yeah,
yeah, you know, the whole point with what we do is that we are trying to create as good a product as we can. You know, that is our whole. That's the reason we grow so many mushrooms, because unless you have a large amount of mushrooms
yeah.
to extract from, you cannot create a high quality product, because there's only a fixed amount of compounds in 1 gram of dried
Sure.
mushroom. And mushrooms are made of chitin, which is the same stuff as crustacean shells or insects, certain bacteria as well. But they are an absolute nightmare to extract from. They are so difficult to pull the bioactive compounds out. And so, you know, so we're doing a lot of having a lot of conversations with, you know, physicists about sonic extraction, and you know, we are, yeah, that's literally what we were doing 48 hours ago in the lab. So we're trying to grow as many, make sure the strains we're growing are the highest
Yeah.
in the compounds we're interested in, and extract the most efficiently, and do the clinical research.
And just
So
recap on the couple. I mean, we've only literally pulled out two just to start with. The reishi you mentioned, particularly in terms of the link potentially with
okay, so
fibromyalgia.
reishi is a
Pain.
key one. Yeah, so the key thing about reishi is that it seems to down-regulate cytokines. Cytokines are like, in essence, the sort of signaling enzyme of your immune system. So when something goes wrong within your body, you get an infection, or you cut yourself or whatever, your immune system will send cytokines down there to signal back to the immune system that it needs to send whatever it is, T cells, NK killer cells, whatever it may be, to fight off that infection. But what quite often happens, for example, with inflammation in the joints, you know, the body sends more and more and more and more cytokines down to that site, and you get inflammation. And reishi definitely downregulates cytokines. And so, for example, we've got some extraordinary Somerset boys, like proper old school farmers, who they come out, here you go, Tom, I hear you got some reishi up there. Oh, it's done the world of good for my knees. And these are guys that would never go into a health shop. They would never, you know, but they're taking so much less like painkillers now, and getting up in the morning is so much easier. And also with reishi, so we have quite a few mainly teenage girls who suffer from sort of social anxiety, and they have our reishi, and we've heard from a few fathers actually who've rang us up to just thank us, because it may be the act of self-medication when you go out, that in itself may calm them. But because of reishi's ability to oxygenate the blood, it definitely within 10 or 15 minutes will slow your heart rate slightly. And that again will, that anyway, so we've had lots of illustrations of that. And also the main reason, to be honest, people actually take our reishi is probably for sleep. I think because obviously it slows the heart rate, but the two studies that have been done looking at REM sleep, people that take reishi go into REM sleep about 40% faster. And so if you are a light sleeper, if you can get into deep sleep quicker, that seems to be so reishi, and ironically enough, reishi.
At night, then? Do you take it at bedtime, or does it not matter?
Yeah, I mean, I take it in the morning, but you can take it at night as well. And I think if you've got an issue with sleep, then yeah, definitely it is the one that seems to. And interestingly,
all of them, Tom, because they all sound amazing.
You see,
take them all together?
I mean, the issue that you can, but you know, we don't put it that way.
A bit serious, you know, asking for a friend.
No, I mean, I think if you were to take them, all of them, then, you know, probably less than a milliliter a day. I mean, one of our bottles, for example, at a recommended dose will last about 7 weeks. So that's the other thing we got wrong from a business perspective. none of these are. The trouble is when you make things stronger, you should make smaller bottles, but we failed to do that. So
I love your
so
honesty.
uh,
Lovely.
so hopefully, I mean, I think people appreciate the fact that they're not, being sold something that they're going to have to buy every 4 weeks. But yeah, so I would say, apart from cordyceps, for example, the cordyceps you can dose as and when if you want energy. So we're
Oh,
very lucky. Yeah, so that one is extraordinary. We've got a lot of sort of older ex-party heads, shall we say, who take cordyceps, in place of maybe other stimulants they used to
really?
take. Yeah, genuinely. We're also very lucky because we've been well. A guy who was nutritionist for Great Britain Rugby League now recommends our products to a lot of. So we've got quite a few professional rugby players that take our cordyceps in particular. It's also very good at down-regulating inflammation on the brain, and it improves your VO max.
Yeah.
And so I think cordyceps, to be honest, is the mushroom that everyone is going to be talking about over the next few years.
Maybe
So
start with this one and see how you feel.
I mean,
The
that
recipe
is
sounds
the
good
only one
too.
we do that if you were to take 2 or 3 milliliters of that one, 15, 20 minutes later, you would actually feel something.
Okay, I'm going to
So
be
my
putting that in the pen.
23-year-old son refuses to take it because it just makes him feel horny, he says. And it'll take, well, it's also known as Himalayan Viagra. So, I mean, it
No
has been
way.
prescribed. It genuinely has been
Could you
prescribed
put it
for,
into
for a
somebody's
very.
drink then? I mean, could you spike their drink with cordyceps?
Yeah, it's not that potent, but we've got lots of athletes who are improving on their personal bests from very long
Really?
time ago. So cordyceps is a pretty phenomenal mushroom, and interesting the wild foraged cordyceps up in so they originally found it on the Tibetan plateaus when they put the yaks out over winter, and then they put them up on the new in spring, and they got exceptionally jiggy with the cows, and then they started taking themselves. But the wild harvested Cordyceps sinensis, it's cost more per gram than gold, so it's unbelievably expensive, and it is amazing. I was talking, who was it? I think it was Bruce Parry. He was
Yeah.
chatting about it at the conference that we were at recently, actually last week, I think. And in Tibet, they actually take it with brandy, some sort of fermented thing, before they go to bed. And
Not for
you
sleep
know,
then.
it's definitely not good for sleep. That's all I can say.
I'm
Yeah,
being
that's so,
asked, which
so
one is this again? That's the cordyceps.
that's the cordyceps.
Tom,
Yeah,
we're going to have to bring it to a close. I could
not a
honestly
problem.
talk to you all afternoon. Please come and do a
Yeah,
podcast with me because there's so much to say.
yeah,
Can we just finish on the chocolate?
yeah.
Because I was super excited. I
Have you actually tried it yet?
Yes,
Okay.
I ate half a bar one evening because in the interest of research, obviously,
Yeah.
and I felt really buzzy. I mean, I don't know whether it's the caffeine in the chocolate or what, but have you actually got real lion's mane in here? Is this going
Yeah,
to have a therapeutic
yeah.
effect?
So what we actually do for that one? So what we actually do is we extract from our lion's mane, and then we put the tincture back onto the lion's mane that we've extracted from, and we evaporate off the alcohol and the water. And then what we also do for flavour is we give Radek, who is an amazing chocolatier, we give Radek actually about half a kilo of fresh dried lion's mane, not the extracted lion's mane. It's actually quite complicated to make that. On the positive, we are limited by how much Radek can actually make. So
Poor Radix
the thing is that,
there
well,
slaving
no,
away
like
over his
you,
chocolate vat.
it's really important for us to support like local competent. Radek's organic certified as well, and so he's in Bristol. He makes amazing chocolate. I mean, genuinely, we've had we had over 10 chocolatiers offer to make something with us, and Radek is he's so good at flavour, and he's just an honourable man. Unfortunately, he's can't make that many, so
One
we
you
pretty much
can. Can we get
we
our
pretty much
discount on this as well?
it is very yes, you can get the discount on that as well.
I might have. I think what a fantastic present for somebody.
Yeah,
You know,
and it does
that
taste amazing. I mean, genuinely, it's
it's
like
really good.
it
Oh yeah, yeah. No,
genuinely,
it's really,
yeah.
really good job. It doesn't taste mushroomy, and even if you don't like mushrooms,
No,
you know, you saw me earlier. I was adding it to my cup of coffee, but you can add it to water, juice, milk,
juice,
anything.
anything. You can put it straight in your mouth. Some people
Okay.
actually quite like them, but there are like reishi and chaga are particularly bitter. I'm not
Uh-huh.
sure which one that is. Is that
Cordyceps.
cordyceps?
Mm-hmm.
Is it? Of course it is. So
Oh, that's nice.
that it's slightly
Strong.
almondy,
Yeah.
slightly almondy,
Yeah.
but very
Okay.
mushroomy. That's
I'll
actually
time
my
myself.
least.
I'll give it 15 minutes and see what
Okay.
happens.
Okay. Okay. Well, probably need to shut the video then,
Yeah,
Liz.
time to go now
Yeah,
before Liz loses
indeed.
it completely. Tom, honestly, I can't tell you what a delight it is to chat.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm massively impressed. I love your brand. I love Bristol Fungarium. I love everything that you're doing. I am your silent stalker on Instagram. I'm thrilled we've connected. I'm thrilled you've given us a discount. I'm thrilled you've given us the time to come and talk to us
Thank
because
you.
it is the way ahead. Mushrooms.
Yeah, good quality mushrooms,
Quality.
definitely. Yeah.
Quality and good value.
Yeah.
Wishing you all the best. Please come back and talk to us again.
Happy to do so, Liz. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Have a great, great day. Big hug.
Bye bye.
You have to click off the little square, otherwise I click everyone off.
Thank you.
Oh my
I'm off.
goodness. Do you know how sometimes you get a guest and you just think, I never want this conversation to end? It is so fantastic. Do go and check them out. Bristol Fungarium, that's your homework for the week. You will be fascinated. And of course, there's so much else online. You know, if you haven't watched Michael Pollan, you can watch, he's got a great series of documentaries on Netflix called How to Change Your Mind. Then, of course, there's the documentary about fungi, fantastic fungi. If you've not seen that, that is seriously what it's all about. But, you know, I just love the fact that they've got the chocolate as well. I mean, brilliant. Thank you, guys. 15% off everything. The quality, as we've seen, amazing. If you get the turkey tail, just a reminder, it's meant to have the little lumps in it, okay? That's the sign of quality. And I could see them answering questions during the live, and I know that their customer care is very good. So if you want to send an email, a direct message, if you've got concerns, questions, or direct message on their Instagram, I'm sure they will get back to you. That is it for today. Something else, of course, that helps with sleep is 5-HTP, and that's the precursor to melanin. And that is something that is in Better Use Sleep Spray. And we do have that as a freebie when you subscribe to the Earle Wellbeing magazine. This is your last chance, actually, because do you know what? We are running up to the beginning of May. And you know what that means? A brand new issue. The May-June issue will be landing sometime towards the end of next week. But if you have yet to receive your beauty issue, if you would like to subscribe and start your subscription with that issue, then please grab it while you can. You get your free 5-HTP sleep spray, which is worth £20. You get 6 issues for the price of 5, so you get an extra free issue and you get free UK PMP. So what is not to love? I say nothing, go for it. Also, if you were with me yesterday, you will have seen me with the lovely Jenny, my old friend from Percy and Reed, and what a steal that was. Oh my goodness. This is a time-sensitive offer. This only runs until the 3rd of May, but they have given us basically 40% off, 40, when you use Liz Loves. Normally it's 20 or 15% on Percy and Reed, which is still really, really great value. But this is the amazing saving. This is the kit. And it has in it that lovely hair turban that we demonstrated so glamorously, your little scalp massage brush, the fabulous Give Me Strength conditioner, shampoo. Love this. I've used it just now. In fact, I've got the treatment mask on my hair, which is why my hair's a bit wet and pulled back. That's the treatment mask there. You can see I've been using that. And this was extraordinary, wasn't it? The scalp concentrate for thicker, stronger, shinier, fuller hair. Clinically proven, independent American trials showing that the hair strength from one application of the shampoo and conditioner improved hair strength by, I think it was 64%. Absolutely phenomenal. Brilliant British hair care brand. Love it. Love the saving. But if you want to get that particular offer, the hair strengthening offer kit, use your Liz Loves code on their website, and that reduces the price from some crazy amount, like £102 down to, I think it's 50 something. Phenomenal. So it's a 40% saving. Anyway, that is it for today. Make sure that you're signed up to the Earle Wellbeing newsletter. There's a special one coming tomorrow, Friday. Check your junk email, make sure it doesn't end up there, because it's got lots of good treats ready for the weekend. There's also a brand new episode of the Earle Wellbeing Show podcast, which will go live tomorrow. And I'm much looking forward, Tom, if you're still watching, to invite you onto the show as a guest. Next week, we are going to be continuing this slight kind of psychedelic conversation because I'm going to have a conversation with Mary Biles, talking all about cannabis, and in particular medicinal cannabis. Very interesting. She's a contributor to the magazine. I recorded a podcast with her, and I'll recap as well, I think, on some of the mushroom conversation. Until then, have a fabulous long weekend. And, it's the Liz Loves code. We will check that. We will check that to see. The code should be across everything on the Bristol Fungarian website, but we will definitely check that out now. Thank you very much. Thank you for all the hearts. Have a great weekend. I'll see you next week, next Tuesday.